Everyone, greetings and welcome back to another episode of Elevation Through Hindsight. Have a Marine brother here today, which I'm pretty excited about. I consider this guy a brother, consider him a friend, and a true advocate for change. So, Brian, today, Brian Talley is going to let you in on a little bit about his story and some things that he went through. More importantly, he's going to give us tips and tricks and guidance and advice on what it means and how to have a mindset if you're ever looking to change something. You know, so many people in life sit around and often talk about making a change, making a difference. What's not heard a lot of is what is your mindset when you're doing that? What causes you to keep going? What makes you an advocate for change? Brian, brother, I know your story. I'm inspired by it. I think you're a strong man. You're a great man. And I'm excited to hear the guidance that you have for our viewers today. Over to you.
Sergeant Major, hey, I appreciate the kind words. I mean, it's a lot coming from a man, of your stature, somebody I definitely look up to and respect. Your service to our great nation is, is above and beyond.
Appreciate
and
it.
so, I appreciate you having me on here. And, and again, I appreciate the kind words to you or, to me. And, before I get started here, I was living the American dream prior to January of 2016. And then all that came crashing down around me with delayed and denied care at my VA hospital, where I would go through several months, 4 months of gross negligence and medical malpractice that nearly cost me my life. Very long story short here, because I don't want to get too caught up in the actual malpractice and the negligence that happened, because I think I can offer more life value by talking about what I did after the injury. I suffered a bone-eating staph infection that aggressively ate my spine and internal organs for 4 months. Again, delayed and denied care. And I just was a veteran that slipped through the cracks, and unfortunately that does happen. The VA, is not all bad. We're all, human, and humans make errors. Unfortunately with me, my error their error nearly cost me my life. And it ended up, putting me on a path of just depression and anxiety, trying to figure out, what in the heck happened and what put me in this horrifying state, that I was in of, losing everything and just trying to pick up the pieces. So what I ended up doing is I ended up filing a federal tort claim for the injuries that that occurred. The VA stated that they failed to meet the standard of care, and there was a breach in liability, and that they were going to be settling my claim. And then at the 1 year mark, they drop a letter after leading us down this garden path that everything was going to be okay and we wouldn't lose everything. That they were going to be settling my claim due to negligence and the malpractice. When that letter came, it pretty much denied everything due to a employment status, stating that the clinician that they were going to hold accountable for my injuries was an independent contractor and not a VA employee. There's a law from 1946 that states that if you're injured in a VA hospital by an independent contractor, the U.S. government is not responsible for those damages.
Wow.
The problem is that the VA hospital is full of independent contractors, and you don't know who they are. They wear VA badges, VA doctor coats, VA everything. They are unidentified, pretty much when it comes to their employment status that is being shown to the veterans that they're actually caring for. So the transparency that the veterans receive once they're getting care is really up in the air. No one really knows. And you would never really know to even ask that question because, VA doctor's coat, VA ID, VA business cards, everything would say that they're an actual employee. So they denied my claim based on this technicality after 1 year of, like I said, leading us down this garden path. To add insult to veritable injury, they said that I needed to sue this clinician that they found to have failed to meet the standard of care in state court. The day that that letter got mailed to me, we were 3 days past our California state statute of limitations, which essentially protected the independent contract doctor from any recourse. And this was the VA's way, or at least the Office of General Counsel's way, to effectively strip my right of due process and throw this independent contractor under the bus and leave me and my family holding the bag.
Wow. So 3 days afterwards, you get the letter, and pretty much now you are out of town. There's nothing that you can do. According to this letter, nobody to hold accountable for you, everything that you and your family have been through up to this point.
Yeah, correct. I mean, my physical health was completely done. I was living in a chair. I couldn't walk. I was in a walker. A bladder doesn't work anymore. Problems with the kidney. I was up over 300 pounds. And I was in a whirlwind of nightmares trying to figure out what the hell had even just happened to me. And now we're several years into this debacle. At this point, I've already lost my business, my equipment, my family car. Credit card debt is starting to go through the roof. We never had any credit cards before this even happened. And here we were now. My wife was doing everything she could do to just even stave off, financial ruin due to no fault of our own because of a medical negligence and malpractice. And, I'm a man of gratitude. I'm very lucky to be alive. Actually, I mean, I should have died within about 10 to 14 days of me having this egregious infection. And I lived 4 months with it. So you can imagine being eaten alive for just one day in the amount of pain and the amount of agony that one would feel and go through. I mean, my lifeline was handfuls of pills every 4 to 6 hours from my wife, and 40 pills a day for 4 months as I was wilting away in a chair, and my wife was doing everything she possibly could to advocate for me to get the medical care that I needed, and finally that came, 4 months, into this. I got opened up by a private doctor out in San Diego at Scripps, and he opened me up, and he's like, "Man, I can't believe what we saw here, but your spine's been moth eaten and it's bursting with inflammation, and we've got to cut all this out and cut this all out." And so it's left me with a lot of permanent damage, a lot of permanent injuries because of the infection. But to get back to the tort claim, we didn't have any recourse for what happened. So that put me in a horrifying state, again, of anxiety and depression. I'm losing it all.
I can imagine.
I was a very, well-to-do man, just a proud man, a father of 4, a wife of well over 20 years, a community leader, and a successful small business owner. I owned a custom landscape company. I was very hands-on. And when all that got taken away from me, part of me died. Part of me died in January of 2016. And it took a long time for me to reinvent myself and to recreate myself into this new person that I would, essentially become. So what does any Marine do when they are battling a hardship and there's some serious stuff going on? I contacted my congressman. My congressman, another former Marine, Duncan Hunter, San Diego, in the California's 50th congressional district. I called him and and I said, "Hey man, I am desperate. This is everything that's going on. My case has now been all over the news. And there's some serious stuff that's going on in the VA that is fraudulent and it's criminal. It's downright frightening to even know that this is happening to veterans. It's one thing to fall victim to medical malpractice. It's another thing to fall to legal malpractice after you've already been put on your knees due to no fault of your own. And how bad this was is, I just had to go to him and plead to him and say, hey, look, we need to change this. Well, he became immediately engaged, and he was very, very quite shocked at the handling of how my case was handled. And so he sent several letters. Unfortunately, he had a mishap of his own, and he was federally indicted and forced out of Congress. Congress lost just all confidence in him to lead as a member of Congress because of his indictment, and he was stripped of his congressional authority pretty much and forced out. So now I'm the biggest case in the VA without a sitting member of Congress.
Wow. So just blow after blow, man. You had the letter that came 3 days too late. You had somebody now that was willing to advocate for you, get behind you, rally the troops, for lack of a better term. And now this, again, what seems like another roadblock.
Yeah, I mean, I had roadblocks everywhere. From the very first time I ended up at the VA ER, and then about 100, and then that roadblock. So it's just, I described it for so long as if I was just in a concrete room with 100-foot walls, just and no way out, just like a mouse, just clawing at the concrete, just trying to do anything you can to get out. And I just try to get out, and I would just fall right back on my face or my back or whatever it would be. And I was just like, again, I was a broken man. I was trapped. I was helpless. I was hopeless. And really at the end of the day, I didn't really have much left to give. I was in such a bad place because my life as I knew it was ending. And I had young kids, and they were looking at me, and, their leader went down, and, and I have a very tight, very close family. And that hurt the most, is because once the veteran goes down, everybody goes down with that veteran. Anybody who loves that veteran is going to go down with him. It's friends, family, it's, it's kids, it's, spouses, whatever it may be. But like you said, the letter came three days too late. It didn't come 3 days too late. They held on to that letter for a year. And then they mailed it when they knew that their statute of limitations would have been expired. So I would receive it with zero recourse, zero accountability, and zero justice. So Congressman Duncan Hunter is out. So finally, after months and months and months, I get up from my chair, I stumble to the bathroom, take my pills, and I lean over the bathtub, and I filled that sucker up with tears, and I put it all into God's hands. I said, look, guide me. I am going to become my own member of Congress. I am going to take on the federal government. I'm going to take on the Department of Veterans Affairs. I will draft my own bill. I will hand deliver it to Washington, D.C. I will walk the halls of Congress, going door to door, urging lawmakers to change an outdated law that has destroyed the lives of veterans and their families for generations. And I promised myself that, and I did it, and I did just that. And I would end up having 4 bills introduced in Congress, all in my name, and 5 trips to Washington, D.C., where I learned how to effectively communicate with members of Congress, and the most divided Congress in our nation's history. When bills weren't being passed, I brought my own bill to the table, and I had a seat at that table. And once I earned my seat at the table in Washington, D.C., I never gave up my seat until my mission was complete. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, I killed them with kindness, and I fought with honor, with courage, with commitment. The same hallmarks that were instilled in me as a recruit at MCRD San Diego in 1995. So once a Marine, always a Marine. Esprit de corps, entrepreneurship, and again, just recreating who I was and trying to figure out who I was going to be as a person. When I was hurt and when I was neglected, and years I sat in a chair trying to figure out all this stuff. And once I got up out of that chair and I started to engage in Congress, I started to get 1% better every single day. And through that, has really helped me. So fighting for others and advocating for others has helped me, improve, definitely mentally and emotionally. So, it's definitely something that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, because it was a very painful time for 5 years of my life, going through all these trials and tribulations and trying to figure things out. But yeah, it's insane. So,
Man, that is an immense amount of strength. It's like I can physically picture you leaning over a bathtub and hey, just tears are flowing. You're tired of taking pills, but at that point, I feel like you had a choice, and you had a choice to keep doing and keep down the path that you were on, or to do something that would truly make a difference. And to me personally, that is what is most astonishing about your story, is that when you came to that fork in the road, man, you said, hey, I got to go left or I got to go right. Thankfully for veterans like myself and the generations and generations that will come after us, you did something that will benefit us. You did something that, now your name, your bill is etched into the halls and into the books of Congress that provides true advocacy for other veterans. I mean, I can't even imagine how many before you had to go through something traumatic and nothing was done about it. So hats off to you, brother. Like, absolutely commendable. When I hear you talk about walking the halls of Congress and being your own advocate and fighting for something and using those tenets that and those hallmarks of our core values, honor, courage, and commitment, I'm like, that's amazing. This is honor, courage, and commitment in the flesh. And now we see the outcome. We see the outcome of your perseverance and your dedication and your ability to say, I am not going to quit until my mission is complete. That is commendable. That is noteworthy by all accounts.
Thank you. Yeah, very well put. Very well articulated there, Sergeant Major. Yeah, I was, I didn't have an option. I didn't have an option because the loophole that destroyed me and the thousands of others before me and their families hurt too bad. And I couldn't live with myself knowing that I could have done something about this. And several members of Congress ended up, coming to me and saying, well, this happened to the right guy, because this has been on the books since 1946. There's been a few attempts to try to make this right, but it's never happened. And people say, okay, well, what's the law? What's the law change that you ended up getting passed? Well, it's the tally bill, right? It's the tally bill. And what it does is it forces the VA Office of General Counsel to give the injured veteran or whoever filed that tort claim the employment status within 30 days of them filing their federal tort claim for the clinician that is stated on the actual form. So they can no longer hold on and withhold crucial information and lead you down this garden path without giving you this crucial information that would otherwise prove your case in court. So they can no longer deny and deflect based on a technicality in a law from 1946. When the law was written in 1946, it made sense. There was very, very, very few independent contractors. Unfortunately, the government has seen a huge uptick in independent contractors. So now the law is very profitable when they can actually put the medical malpractice and negligence on the backs of these people who aren't considered to be U.S. government employees. To take it a step further, now that's how they water down the numbers in the VA, is if they don't really have anybody responsible for it to take on the actual malpractice itself, because it goes into a different bin. It goes into the independent contract bin, but that's in the private arena right there. So no, those numbers aren't going to be listed. So it is just a very bad way to do business. And my bill simply brings back transparency. The VA needs to be transparent to the veterans that they serve. I think we all deserve some transparency and some respect and good care. Not even saying perfect care, just decent, good care. We all know that hospitals on the civilian side, the veteran side, look, we are at a time in our country where there's a lot of sick people, and there's a lot of people that are hurting in this country, and there's not enough doctors, there's not enough nurses. So we do know, hey, look, be patient, relax, we're going to get to you. But when it's emergency cases and there's, clear lines were drawn of, malpractice and negligence, that's where, I would hope and expect that there would be accountability, transparency and justice when that does happen. And a lot of the times, like I said, I'm very lucky to be alive. So a lot of the times when something like this happens, the veteran dies, and it would be up to the surviving spouse or the next of kin to, try to figure out all this stuff. Well, the tort claims process and how to go about, any claims and stuff like that. So when you look at the technicality and, again, how bad the process was, it's a very hard road to maneuver, for sure. So
truly amazing. It's weird that you say that, because as I told you earlier before the podcast, I'm actually in San Diego right now, and on the same base that you went to recruit training at. And this morning I had the unique chance and distinction to go over and talk to a few recruits that are joined from Houston, Texas. And as I look out across this mass of recruits, it's weird to look out and think that we really don't know who's in that formation or the purpose that God has for these individuals. I would imagine that in 1995, man, when you're sitting there in formation and you got your green on green and you're covered in sand from the pit and you're yelling out, "Aye, sir," that nobody had any idea there is somebody in this formation right now who is going to make such a difference in the world that they are going to suffer through something and then muster the strength to take a bill to Congress and get it passed. I mean, there are people that fight their entire lives to make this kind of change. And to know that you did that, man, I am honored to know you. If there will be no question about the difference that you've made in the lives of others. Brian, I got to ask you, man, what gave you that kind of strength? Because I know that along the way, the feeling of this is too hard. It's too much for me to tackle. It's a mountain too steep for me to climb. What pushed you? What gave you the mindset to keep going? Because I would imagine a lot of folks, they start a journey, but then they fall off because the mountaintop seems too far away, or the ladder has too many steps to climb. So just talk to us a little bit about your mindset during this.
My family, my kids, I had to set the example. Period. The end. I mean, they saw me in a very, very bad place for years and years and years, and I had given up on myself. I was a man in pain, in indescribable pain. which led to anxiety and depression. And, my medical, once you have one bad medical thing happen in your spine, and then that forces another problem, and then that forces another problem. So it just snowballs. So when I was going through all this, it was just, I was a broken man, and I was tired of being broken. And I know I'm always going to be broken now, but I didn't need to be broken mentally and emotionally. So when I figured out, hey, look, I'm going to be suffering from pain for the rest of my life, and I'm going to have a lot of underlying health issues for the rest of my life because of this infection that lived in me for so long. But if I can do this, being happy, the pain is going to be a lot less. Pain, I've learned how to manage pain. And when you're sad or you're upset or you're angry or you're bitter, it's going to be a lot more tougher to handle. If you're happy, pain is easier to manage. And really, at the end of the day, I fought because it was the right thing to do. I wanted to fight for what's right. I took my entrepreneurial mindset that I had as a small business leader, and I put all those principles to work. So even though I'm not college educated, even though I don't have a high level degree in government or lobbying or how to write a bill, I'm just a regular Joe. I'm just a regular guy that, again, showed up and made it my obsession to not only be heard, but to actually follow through on the action that I was taking in Congress to change this 74-year VA legal loophole.
Man, I think you said a mouthful. Made it your obsession to complete the mission, and set out to do what you said it is that you were going to do. And I think that anybody can learn from that, regardless of what they're going through, what they're faced with. That is timely and applicable advice. For those of you who don't know, you can catch Brian's full story. He is a published author. I had a chance to read his book, and the insight that I gained from his book definitely helps me out in my day-to-day life. So Brian, when we publish this show and push it out, brother, I'm definitely going to drop the link, and I would encourage all of you to go and get yourself a copy. It is a good read. It's one of those books that truly inspires you, because you're going to read this book and be looking at it like, man, like God had to choose this guy to go through this thing to make a difference. And not everybody has the willpower or the tenacity, whatever it takes to go through something so complicated and come out on the end, shining victor that made a difference to other people. So, brother, thank you again for being on, sharing your story. If somebody asks, hey, how do you define resiliency? I'm gonna say Brian Talley. That's how I define resiliency. That is a resilient man. That is an honorable man. Any last words, brother, before we end this today?
I just, we're going through some times in our country right now where there's so many people that have so many great ideas, and they're afraid to stand up and to be heard. If anybody could take anything away from my story, is that you're an American, and our Constitution in our country is built around us, we the people. And you can make a difference. One man can indeed make a difference if you show up and you fight, again, honorably, and you get that seat at the table, and you earn that seat at the table, and you keep that seat at the table, again, by killing them with kindness. It's not very hard to get in there and to be an effective advocate for anybody that has any great idea that they think they may have. I have people coming to me all the time now. Hey, Brian, I want to do a bill. How do I write a bill? Well, the same way I did. Pick up a law book, take your phone, start Googling stuff, start writing stuff down, start start, it's a BAMSIS, right? Begin plan, arrange plan, make plan, complete plan, issue orders, and supervise, right? It's just the way you do it. 5-paragraph order, get it done, right? You got to be a motivator. You can't just show up scared and stuff like that. You got to show up, boots on the ground, go door to door. Don't be afraid, be aggressive, but be kind. And you take your idea and you get it done. And you share that idea with people, and then you grow that. You grow your assets, right? You grow your assets, and your assets are other people. So I don't want anybody out there to say, there's a lot of people out there that are fearful to get up and stand up for what's right. But don't be fearful. Just get up, fight for what's right, and God will do the rest. Simplify.
I love it, brother. I love it. Couldn't have said it better myself. Brian, thanks again. Looking forward to, people listening to this and just gaining just insight, courage, the ability to overcome. And like you said, man, just put one step at a time, 1% better, and God will do the rest. Brian, thanks again. God bless, brother.
Simplify. Thank you, Sergeant Major.
Hoorah.